On Easter Monday, April 21st, 2025, Pope Francis passed away at the age of 88, marking the end of a transformative papacy. His death, which occurred shortly after Easter Sunday, was interpreted by many as a significant event in the context of ancient prophecies. This long-form narrative explores his life, legacy, and the profound symbolism surrounding the moment of his passing, reflecting on the impact he had on the Catholic Church and the world. A papacy of firsts, Jorge Mario Bergoglio was elected the 266th Pope of the Roman Catholic Church on March 13, 2013. From the moment he stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica and uttered his now iconic plea, "Pray for me," it was clear that his pontificate would be different. He was the first pope from Latin America, the first Jesuit, and the first to adopt the name Francis in honor of St. Francis of Assisi. These firsts were not merely symbolic. They marked a shift in the tone and direction of the Church. Pope Francis rejected the traditional papal apartments and chose to live in the more modest Casa Santa Marta. He prioritized humility and service, often rejecting opulence in favor of simplicity. He also opted for direct and accessible communication, frequently speaking to the press on apostolic flights, calling the faithful on his own, and using social media to convey messages of faith and encouragement. All of this helped bring the papacy closer to ordinary people, champion of the marginalized. Throughout his pontificate, Francis emphasized the Church's mission to serve the poor, marginalized, and forgotten. He visited prisons, refugee camps, and impoverished communities, always with a message of hope and dignity. He washed the feet of prisoners, embraced the disfigured, and frequently reminded the world that the Church is a field hospital after the battle. During his international visits, he made a point of going to the peripheries, engaging with the rejected, and courageously denouncing systems of oppression. His speeches at the United Nations, the United States Congress, and numerous international summits made clear his vision of social justice rooted in the gospel. His encyclicals, such as Laudato Si and Fratelli Tutti, called for global action on climate change, economic inequality, and universal fraternity. His vision of a more inclusive church resonated with millions and sparked dialogue across religions and nations. A death in sacred light. When news broke that Pope Francis had died on April 21st, 2025, Easter Monday, the world was stunned. The timing seemed hauntingly significant. Easter is the celebration of Christ's resurrection, the triumph of life over death. That the Pope would pass away just one day after proclaiming this message during Easter Mass added a layer of spiritual poignancy to his death. This coincidence has been interpreted by theologians and the faithful as a seal of sainthood, a connection between the pontiff's life of service and the central message of the Christian faith. The symbolism of returning to the Father on the same day that Christians celebrate the risen Christ has brought comfort to millions. The last blessing. On Easter Sunday, April 20th, 2025, Pope Francis made his final public appearance. Frail but serene, he stood in the central loggia of St. Peter's Basilica and offered the Urbi et Orbi blessing. His voice was soft, but his message was as powerful as ever, a call for peace, compassion, and unity in a fractured world. His face was weary, but also peaceful. At the end of the blessing, he stood in silence for a few seconds, looking out at the crowd. Many believers say that at that moment, they felt something special, a silent farewell, a last look full of gratitude and surrender. The fulfillment of prophecy. The proximity of his death to Easter, coupled with his position as the 112th Pope since Celestine II, has rekindled interest in the prophecy of St. Malachi. This 12th century document, long considered apocryphal by scholars, predicts a finite list of 112 popes, ending with Peter the Roman, who would shepherd the Church through a great tribulation. According to the prophecy, after this last pontiff, the city on 7 hills, Rome, would fall and the last judgment would begin. Pope Francis, the son of Italian immigrants, thus fulfilling the Roman lineage, and known for adopting the name Saint Francis, whose full name was Giovanni di Pietro di Bernardone, son of Peter, became for some the incarnation of this final figure. Theological debates and reflections have intensified. Is Francis the last true pope? Are we on the verge of a new spiritual era, or even a prophetic judgment? These questions still echo in the halls of the Vatican and among the faithful around the world. Mourning and unity. After his death, the Vatican declared 9 days of mourning. Pilgrims from around the world flocked to Rome to pay their respects. St. Peter's Square was filled with candles, flowers, and handwritten notes. Leaders of every major religion offered their condolences, and even critics acknowledged the Pope's immense global influence. During the days of the wake, thousands of faithful filed past his body, which lay in a simple coffin with a rosary in his hands and a serene smile. The funeral liturgy was filled with emotion, with homilies that extolled his testimony of faith, courage, and humility. In his final wishes, Francis requested that his burial be discreet in the Basilica of St. Mary Major, a place he had always loved and where he prayed before and after each apostolic journey. A legacy of mercy. Pope Francis will be remembered as the Pope of Mercy. His Jubilee year of mercy, his repeated calls for forgiveness, and his compassionate outreach to those often excluded from the Church have marked his pontificate. He challenged rigid traditions, opened doors wide for the divorced, sought to listen to women, and made listening a pastoral priority. Rather than issuing sentences, he offered paths to a new beginning. His episcopal motto, Miserando atque eligendo, meaning he looked with mercy and chose him. This phrase guided not only his priestly vocation, but his entire mission as successor of Peter. The road ahead. As the conclave gathers to elect the next pope, many questions arise. Will the Church continue on the path set by Francis, or will it take a new direction? What will his successor inherit, and what might be lost? The challenge for the new pontiff will be immense: to lead in times of polarization, to keep alive the flame of mercy, to engage in dialogue with the modern world without losing the essence of the faith. The figure of Francis will inevitably be the standard of comparison, conclusion beyond the grave. As Easter reminds us, death is not the end. Pope Francis's visit on Easter Monday will forever link his legacy to the message of the resurrection. His spirit, his teachings, and his example live on in the millions of people he touched. Francis did not seek to build an empire. He sought to rebuild hearts. He did not seek golden thrones, but bare feet. He did not promise perfection, but love. He died as he lived, in humility, in service, and in the radiant light of faith. Requiescat in pace, Papa Francesco.